What would you do if one small decision placed you directly between danger and something you don't understand? Because that night, Amir didn't plan to be a hero, he just wanted to go home. The streetlights flickered like they were tired of staying awake, casting a weak yellow glow across the cracked road. Darkness pressed in from every side, as if it was slowly winning. Dust floated thick in the air, clinging to skin and breath, making everything feel heavier. It was the kind of night where even silence felt wrong. Amir pulled his faded jacket tighter around his chest, though it wasn't cold at all. Something inside him felt uneasy, like a warning he couldn't explain. He checked his phone again, the screen glowing faintly in the dark 11:48 p.m. Too late. He exhaled slowly and rubbed his forehead, whispering that Samir must have fallen asleep by now. His son hated sleeping without him, always asking the same question every night. Abu, up late to nahi yenj? Echoed in his mind as he walked faster. Every night Amir gave the same answer, and every night it was a lie. His worn shoes scraped against the rough road, each step echoing louder than it should have. The neighborhood felt different now, or maybe he had changed. Once, he knew every face here, every shopkeeper, every child playing outside. Now, doors stayed shut and windows remained covered. A memory surfaced suddenly, sharp and painful. Zara stood in the doorway, smiling softly, telling him to come home early because Samir would be waiting. Amir closed his eyes for a second, her voice still vivid, still alive, but she was gone. Gone the night Samir was born, a life taken to give another. Since then, Amir had stopped dreaming. Life had become simple and mechanical. Wake up, work, survive, repeat. No risks, no unnecessary trouble, nothing beyond what was needed. He couldn't afford to lose anything else. Turning into a narrower street, he felt the change instantly. The air shifted, heavy and tense, before he even understood why. Then he heard voices, laughter, but not the kind that brings comfort. Amir slowed down instinctively, his eyes adjusting to the dim light ahead. 3 men stood under a broken streetlight, their shadows stretched long and twisted. Between them stood a girl. She looked fragile, too fragile for a night like this. Her clothes were torn and dusty, hanging loosely on her thin frame. Her hair was messy, strands clinging to her face, but her posture was not weak. That was what felt strange. One of the men laughed, mocking her silence, while another circled her like a predator. Amir felt his chest tighten. He had seen scenes like this before, too many times, and every time he had walked away. That's what life had taught him: to not interfere, to not get involved, to survive. His steps slowed, then nearly stopped. His mind urged him to keep walking, reminding him that Samir was waiting. This was not his fight. But then the girl looked up. Their eyes met, and everything inside Amir froze. There was no fear in her eyes, no panic, no tears. Just a calm stillness that didn't belong in a moment like this. It didn't make sense. A child in danger should be terrified, but she wasn't, and somehow that scared him more. Without realizing it, he took a step forward. One of the men grabbed her arm roughly, telling her to stop resisting. Something inside Amir snapped, quietly but completely. "Buskaro," he said, his voice low but firm. They mocked him, calling him a hero, laughing as if it was a joke. Amir swallowed hard but stepped closer. His heart pounded in his throat, fear clear in his body. Still, he didn't back away. He told them to leave her, his voice trembling slightly. The tension thickened for a moment. Then suddenly, a punch landed hard across his face. He hit the ground instantly, dust exploding around him. Pain shot through his jaws, blood filled his mouth. They mocked him again, asking if he understood now. For a moment, his mind begged him to leave, to walk away like always. But then he saw her again, still standing, still calm, still watching him. Her gaze didn't beg for help, but it didn't let him leave either. Slowly, painfully, Amir pushed himself up. The men noticed, their smirks fading slightly. Something in his eyes had changed. He looked around quickly and spotted a broken brick near his foot. Picking it up, he tightened his grip around it. "Bus," he said again, louder this time. The air shifted, and even the men hesitated for a second. One of them laughed again, but it sounded less certain now. Amir didn't respond, just stood there breathing heavily, holding the brick like it was everything. Then faint sirens echoed in the distance. The men exchanged glances before stepping back. They warned him he was lucky tonight and disappeared into the darkness. Amir dropped the brick, his hands shaking uncontrollably. He wiped the blood from his lip and turned to the girl. She hadn't moved. "Tum thik ho?" he asked softly. She nodded once. He asked where her home was, but she didn't respond. He tried again, asking her name, but silence remained. Looking around the empty street, he told her it wasn't safe to stay here. He offered to walk her home. For a moment, it seemed like she might refuse. Then she finally spoke. "Mangar nahi ya shakti," she said softly but steadily. Amir paused, confused. She glanced toward the direction the men had gone and said they were looking for her. A chill ran down his spine. He asked who they were. She looked into his eyes again, something deeper and unsettling in her gaze. "Jinsei tum muj bacha ke leho." "Wo surf shuru at thee," she said slowly. Amir's heartbeat dropped. He asked what she meant. She stepped closer for the first time. "Unk peach or log hain," she whispered. The wind picked up suddenly, dust swirling around them. The street felt alive, as if it was watching him. Amir asked quietly who she really was. She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she just stared at him. For the first time, Amir felt something he couldn't explain. It wasn't fear or danger, but something deeply wrong. Then, far away, the sound of an engine echoed. Slow and approaching? Headlights appeared at the end of the street, growing brighter. The girl's expression didn't change. "Whoa, gay," she whispered. Amir froze and asked who. The car stopped, doors opening as shadows stepped out. The girl looked straight into his eyes and said quietly, "Abitum be safe, nahi ho." Amir couldn't move. Saving her now felt like the biggest mistake of his life. What if helping someone didn't make you a hero, but marked you as the next target? Because the moment those car doors opened, Amir realized this wasn't over, it had just begun. The headlights stayed on, blinding, sharp beams cutting through the dusty air, turning every floating particle into something visible. Something alive? Amir instinctively raised his hand to shield his eyes. His heartbeat slowed, not out of calm, but out of shock. 4 men stepped out of the car, not like the others, not loud, not careless. These men moved with purpose. Black clothes, clean, pressed, their shoes didn't drag on the ground, they landed. Controlled, measured, Amir's fingers twitched, something was wrong. Very wrong. Behind him, the girl didn't move, didn't panic, didn't run. That scared him more than anything. One of the men stepped forward, tall, broad shoulders, cold face, his voice was calm. Too calm, tum interfere nahi karna shahitha. Amir swallowed. Whoa. Baki hai. The man tilted his head slightly, almost. Amused? Tum lagda hai? Tum pada hai? Yakon hai? Amir hesitated. For the first time, doubt crept in. He glanced back at the girl. Still quiet. Still watching? Whoa, Akili Thi, Amir said, forcing his voice to stay steady. The man smiled faintly. Akili? A small pause. Yakabi Akili nahi hodi. Amir's chest tightened. What does that even mean? He thought. Another man moved slightly to the side, scanning the street. Like they were expecting something else or someone else, the first man took another step forward. Now only a few feet away. USA human to do. Amir's body stiffened. No, the word came out before he could stop it. Silence, heavy, the men exchanged glances. Not angry, not surprised, just calculating. Tum samaj nahi rehi, the man said quietly. Yeah, tum hurry problem nahi hai. Amir's jaw tightened. Abi hai. The girl's gaze shifted slightly. For the first time, she looked at Amir differently. Not just observing, but assessing. A faint breeze passed, carrying the distant smell of smoke. The man exhaled slowly. Tumharagar hai? The question hit unexpectedly. Amir hesitated. Han? Family? Amir's heartbeat spiked. He didn't answer, but his silence was enough. The man nodded slightly, like he had just learned everything he needed. Fear so low, he said softly. Ekajabi kelai. Sabkuch davpar lagana thik hai? Amir's mind flashed. Samir, his small hands. His sleepy voice, Abu. Jaldiana, his chest tightened painfully. For a second, just a second, he almost stepped aside. Almost, then the girl spoke. Matyana, her voice was quiet, but it cut through everything. Amir turned to her. There was something new in her eyes. Not calm, not now, urgency, fear, but not for herself. For him, that didn't make sense. Please, she whispered, that single word. Did what punches couldn't. Amir looked back at the men, his decision locked in. Nahi? The air shifted instantly, the man's expression changed. Just slightly, but enough. Tom Samaj, Nahi Rehiho? A pause. Yeah, Ladki. Normal Nahi Hai? Amir frowned. Matlab? The girl looked down for the first time. Silence, then time katam. The man snapped his fingers. Everything happened fast. Two men moved forward at once. Amir reacted instinctively. He grabbed the same broken brick from before, swung it. It connected, a sharp crack. One man stumbled back. But the second faster, stronger, Amir felt a hard grip on his arm, twisting, pain shot through his shoulder. He gasped. Abu! The voice hit him like lightning. Everything stopped. His breath caught that voice. Samir, no. Impossible. He turned his head sharply. At the end of the street, another figure, small, standing near the car. Amir's heart dropped. Samir? His voice broke. The men didn't move. Didn't react because they didn't need to? Amir's world had already shattered. The small figure stepped slightly into the light. And Amir froze because it wasn't Samir, but it looked like him. Same height. Same posture. Same face. Amir's grip loosened. The brick fell. What is this? He whispered. Behind him, the girl spoke again. They use what you love. Her voice trembled now. To control you. Amir's mind couldn't process it. The fake figure smiled, slowly, unnaturally, and then its face shifted, just slightly. But enough. Amir stumbled back. This isn't real, he muttered. The man stepped closer again. B. Samjay? Amir's breathing became uneven. What do you want? The answer came instantly. USA. Amir looked at the girl. She stood still. But her fists were clenched now, tension, fear, something deeper. Maing Nahi Jongi, she said softly. The men didn't react, because they weren't talking to her anymore. They were talking to Amir. Last chance, the man said. Amir closed his eyes for a second. Samir, home, safety. Pehel Mudge cross Karna Hoga. Silence. Then the man smiled. Galit choice. The fake child at the end of the street started walking toward them. Step by step, and with every step, its face changed, not fully. Just enough to break reality. Amir's heart pounded violently. Because deep down, a terrifying thought had begun to form. What if this girl is not the victim? The girl suddenly grabbed his wrist. Her grip was tight, cold. Abibago, she whispered urgently. Amir looked at her. For the first time, he saw fear, real fear, not for herself, but for what was coming next. The fake child stopped, right in front of them, and then it spoke. In Samir's voice, Abu, Ap Mudge Chad Doge, Amir's soul shattered. And in that moment, he hesitated. Just for 1 second. But that 1 second changed everything. What if the one moment you hesitate? Not because of the night, but because something unseen had stepped closer. Abu? That voice again, soft, broken, familiar. Amir's chest tightened so hard it hurt to breathe. His eyes locked onto the small figure in front of him. Same height, same face, same innocent eyes. Samir, no. Amir whispered, This isn't real. Yeah, Jude high. But the child took another step forward, slow, careful, almost scared. Main der Gaya Hoon. The voice trembled perfectly. Amir's fingers shook. His mind knew, but his heart refused. Behind him, the girl's grip tightened. Matt Deco, you say, she whispered urgently. But Amir couldn't look away. Because every instinct inside him screamed, That's your son, Abu, Garchild Hain. The child stretched his hand forward. Amir's vision blurred. Memories flooded in like a storm. Samir waiting at the door every night. His legs moved forward, just slightly. Amir, the girl snapped. Her voice broke through the illusion for a split second. He blinked. The street returned, the dust, the men, The danger? But then the child's face twisted just for a second. The smile widened unnaturally. The eyes didn't blink. Amir froze. This isn't him, he breathed. Finally, one of the men muttered. The tall man stepped closer again. Calm, controlled, dangerous. Tom strong, ho, he said quietly. Liken harinsan ki ek, weakness hodi hai. Amir's jaw clenched. Tunlog Hokon? The man ignored the question. Instead, his gaze shifted to the girl. Tumbag nahi shakti, he said. The girl didn't respond, but her fingers dug deeper into Amir's wrist. Ap samaj, nahi, rehi, she whispered. Agar main ink sathgai, to sab katam. Amir looked at her. Sab, kya? She shook her head. Time nahi hai, explained Karnka. The fake child suddenly laughed. Amir's blood ran cold, because that wasn't Samir's laugh. It was hollow, distorted. Abu, it said again, but this time, the voice cracked unnaturally. Amir stepped back. Boss, he shouted. Something inside him snapped again, but this time, it wasn't hesitation, it was clarity. Tumera beta nahi hai, silence. The fake child stopped moving, completely still, and then its face dropped, emotionless. Like a mask had fallen off. Interesting, the tall man murmured. Amir's breathing was heavy now. His fear had turned into something sharper, anger. Tungwag kichate, he demanded. The man finally answered. Whoa, he pointed at the girl. Wo kihai? Amir shot back, a pause, then the man smiled faintly. Tumheim pada chaljayega, agar tum zinda rehi. Amir didn't respond. He just stepped slightly in front of the girl. Enough, the man said quietly. This time, there was no warning. All four men moved at once, fast, precise. Amir barely reacted. A hand grabbed his shoulder, another struck his ribs. Pain exploded through his body. He stumbled, but didn't fall. Bago, the girl shouted. Without thinking further, he grabbed her hand and ran. Footsteps pounded behind them, heavy, fast. The street twisted ahead. Narrow alleys, broken paths. Amir's lungs burned. But he didn't stop. Left, the girl said quickly. He turned. Sita, another turn. Yahansei, it felt like she knew the streets better than him. Too well. Tom Yahan Pehal Aiho, Amir gasped. No answer. Only running, behind them. The footsteps didn't slow, they were gaining. Amir's vision blurred with sweat. Main nahi bag panga, he muttered. Rukna match, he snapped. Suddenly they reached a dead end, a wall, tall, cracked, no way out. Amir stopped. His heart dropped. A.B., he said breathlessly. The girl stepped forward, placed her hand on the wall, closed her eyes. Amir frowned. Tumkia, before he could finish, the wall shifted, not visibly, not fully, but enough. A narrow gap appeared. Amir froze. What? Chelo. She pulled him inside. They squeezed through. And suddenly, everything changed. The noise disappeared. The air felt different. Still, too still. Amir turned around. The wall looked normal again. Solid, impossible. His mind struggled to catch up. Yeah, Kitha? He asked. The girl didn't answer. She just looked at him for a long moment. There was something inside them. Something deep, ancient. Amir stepped back slightly. Tom? Hokon? Silence. Then finally, she spoke. Main wo nahi hun jo tum samaj rehi ho. Amir's throat went dry. Fear, kya? She hesitated for the first time. Like she didn't want to say it? Or couldn't. Outside, a loud crash echoed. They had found the wall. Amir's heartbeat spiked again. Humanyana hoga, he said quickly, but the girl didn't move. She just whispered, Agar tum sak pada chao gaya, a pause. Totum muj ba chao jnahi. Amir stared at her, confused, breathing heavy. Main already tum batra raha hun, he said. She shook her head slowly. Abi tum so, rehi ho main victim hun. A small, painful smile appeared on her face. Likan jab tum padashaliga, main kya hun. Her voice dropped, almost breaking. Shayad tum bi unki taraf kad ho jao. Amir felt something twist inside him. Outside, footsteps, closer, time was running out. Amir clenched his fists. Jo biho, he said firmly. Maintum Akila Nahi Chadunga. The girl looked at him, deeply, searching his face, as if trying to decide whether to trust him or not, and then she said something that made his blood run cold. Fear, Tayar Hojao? A pause. Kyunki Abi Tumhuri Zindagi, Wapas Normal Nahi Hogi. The wall behind them suddenly cracked, a loud impact. Light burst through. They were coming. And this time, there was nowhere left to run. What if the person you're risking everything to protect is the very reason danger exists? Because when the wall cracked open, Amir realized there was no more running. Thin at first, then tearing wider with every second. Dust fell from above, the narrow space trembled. Amir instinctively pulled the girl behind him. His body moved before his mind could catch up. Peach Raho, he whispered, another, this time louder. A piece of the wall broke open, light spilled through. And then a hand appeared through the crack, not struggling, not desperate, controlled slowly, deliberately, it pushed the wall apart. Amir's breath caught. They're coming, the girl said quietly. There was no panic in her voice now. Only certainty. The wall shattered open. The men stepped in. One by one, calm, untouched, like the chase had meant nothing to them. The tall man entered last, brushing dust off his sleeve. His eyes immediately locked onto the girl. Finally, he said. Amir stepped forward, blocking their view. Bus, Caro, he snapped, though his voice shook. The man looked at him, not annoyed, not angry, just tired. Tum samaj kya nahi rehi, he said softly. Wo insan nahi hai. Silence. Amir blinked. What? Behind him, the girl didn't react. She is not human, the man repeated calmly. Amir shook his head. Back was Bankaro, but something inside him hesitated. The man took a step closer. Tumku deka hai. Amir's mind flashed back. The wall, the shifting space, her eyes. Dangerous high. Amir turned slightly, looked at her. She stood still. Eyes lowered. Sakai? He asked quietly, a long pause. Then she nodded. Amir felt the ground shift beneath him. Tum, keho? Her voice came out almost as a whisper. Main, ek experiment hoon. Silence fell, heavy, unnatural. Amir frowned. Experiment? The tall man answered this time. Government project, he said. Unauthorized, hidden, failed. Amir's chest tightened. Failed? The man nodded. Unhon insanar. Kuch or mix karn ki koshish ki. Amir looked back at the girl. Her hands trembled slightly now. Tum control se bahar ho. Amir's mind raced. Islai tum log I say pakadna chet ho? Pakadna nahi, the man corrected. A pause. Contain. The word hit differently. Cold, final. Amir stepped back slightly. Tum log I say marna chet ho? No, the man said calmly. Likan agar zarut padi, tohan. The girl closed her eyes. Amir felt something break inside him again. Not fear this time, not confusion. Something deeper. Asanakikia hai? Amir demanded. Silence, then she escaped. Amir blinked. That's it? The man's eyes darkened slightly. Uskon say, Logmart Hain. Amir froze. Slowly, he turned toward her. Yeah, Jude High, he said, but his voice lacked certainty. The girl looked up. Tears in her eyes now. Amir's breath hitched. Kehota High? She hesitated. Then whispered, Jab main darty hoon? A pause. To chizain toot yadi hain. The cracked wall behind them creaked again. Amir looked around. Suddenly it made sense. The chaos, the damage. It wasn't random. It was her. The men stepped closer. Abi, Sanjay, the tall man said. Beside Hojao? Amir stood frozen. His mind screamed one thing. His heart screamed another. Samir, safety, and then the girl's voice. Main bus, Bakna Shadi Hoon. Amir closed his eyes. For 1 second. He saw Samir again, small, helpless, alone. If Samir was in her place, his eyes opened. Decision made. Nahi. The word came out stronger this time. The men stopped. Amir stepped in front of her again. Main I say nahi dunga. Silence. Amir didn't respond because he already knew. The air shifted again, heavy, electric. The girl's breathing became uneven. Amir, she whispered. He didn't turn. Control, Karo, he said quietly. I can't. The ground beneath them trembled. Amir's eyes widened. No, not. Cracks spread across the floor. The walls vibrated. Dust filled the air. The men stepped back slightly. Decca? One of them muttered. Behind him, the girl screamed, and everything exploded. The wall shattered outward. The ground split. The air itself felt like it was tearing apart. Ringing filled his ears. When he opened his eyes, everything had changed. The space was destroyed, the men gone, and the girl floating. Power pulsing around her. Amir's breath stopped. Yeah, Kya? She looked at him, and in that moment, he realized something terrifying. She wasn't losing control. She had already lost it. Amir, she whispered. Her voice echoed unnaturally. Run, but his body didn't move. Because for the first time, he wasn't protecting her anymore. He was standing in front of something that could destroy everything. And somewhere deep inside, a horrifying question formed. What if they were right? The ground beneath him cracked again, and the girl slowly raised her hand. Not toward the men, but toward him.